Good morning. I hereby call to order this 21st meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the year 2015. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes from November 5th, 2015, and I will call on Commissioner Whitmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the elf on the shelf and I have removed. I would like to remove the elf. We have reviewed the minutes of the November 5th public meeting, and we ask that they be approved as submitted so the elf can go back to the North Pole, help out the big guy, and prevent more annoying pictures of him being posted everywhere you look on the internet. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Whitmer to put the elf back on the shelf and to approve the minutes, with a second by Commissioner Powelson. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved 5-0. Call on our Director, Office of Special Assistance, Cheryl Walker Davis, to lead us through our agenda for today.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
May it please this honorable commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items, commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance. It is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendations in the two proceedings on page 1 of the public meeting agenda, through and including the recommendation involving the joint petition for approval of interconnection agreement of Palmerton Telephone Company and Level 3 Communications, LLC.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Place, second by Vice Chairman Coleman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
On page 2 of the public meeting agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation with regard to the joint petition for approval of interconnection agreement of the various Frontier companies as well as New Singular Wireless, noting, however, your statement, Madam Chairman.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Coleman, and I heard jointly a second, I would assume, by Commissioner Whitmer.
Got it.
Under discussion, I would just note my usual recusal from voting on any matters dealing with Frontier Communications because my brother is an employee there. If no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0, noting my recusal.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendations regarding the joint interconnection, the joint petitions for approval of interconnection agreements of Verizon North LLC and Blue Ridge Digital Phone Company, appearing on page 2 as well, as the recommendation involving the joint petition of Windstream Pennsylvania LLC, formerly known as Altel Pennsylvania, and Granite Telecommunications LLC for approval of an interconnection agreement.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Place, second by Commissioner Whitmer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning now to matters on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, with regard to the first item appearing at the top of page 4 involving the application of WJM Services, Inc., there is the motion of Commissioner Whitmer.
Do I have a motion to call up the staff recommendation for consideration?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powelson, second by Vice Chairman Coleman. And I will recognize Commissioner Whitmer for her motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like my motion entered into the record as if I had read it in its entirety. Before the Commission today is the application filed by WJM Services seeking approval of the transfer by sale of the wastewater facilities and rights of Bradford Heights Woodland Properties Management to WJM, the commencement by WJM of wastewater service in the certificated service territory of Bradford Heights and the abandonment by Bradford Heights of wastewater service to the public. I am in complete agreement with the staff recommendations, with one exception. I would, however, I would deny the requests, but without prejudice. Therefore, I move that the order be modified consistent with the motion, and the Bureau of Technical Utility Services prepare an order consistent with the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Whitmer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Place. This motion would amend the staff recommendation. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. On the staff recommendation as amended by the Commissioner Whitmer's motion. Any further discussion before we take a vote? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion as amended, the staff recommendation as amended by the motion passes 5-0.
Continuing with the presentation of agenda items on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt in omnibus fashion the recommendations commencing with that in the proceeding involving the application of PennDOT for approval to replace a bridge in Coppleboro over the Beaver River, continuing with the remaining item on page 4, as well as the recommendations appearing on pages 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 through and including the staff recommendation in the proceeding involving Verizon Pennsylvania LLC and Verizon North LLC's tariff revisions pertaining to 9/11 Public Safety Answering Point Disaster Recovery Service.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Whitmer, second by Vice Chairman Coleman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
And with regard to matters presented on behalf of the Law Bureau, on page 10 of the public meeting agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the Law Bureau's recommendation in the proceeding involving the Pennsylvania Universal Service Fund Administrator's Report.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Place, second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
With that concluding the regular agenda, we now turn to the carry-in agenda. It is recommended on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance that the Commission adopt the recommendations on the first page of the carry-in agenda in the proceedings involving the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus Labette Enterprises, Inc., as well as Renee Chapman versus Pico Energy.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Whitmer, second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, on pages 2 and 3 of the carry-in agenda, there are two proceedings involving HYCO Energy LLC, the first being the proceeding involving the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus HYCO, and the second being the proceeding involving the Attorney General of Pennsylvania and the Office of Consumer Advocate versus HYCO Energy LLC. We recommend the adoption of the staff recommendation in those two proceedings, noting your statement, Madam Chairman, with regard to both.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendations in those two matters?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Coleman, second by Commissioner Place. In discussion, I will submit my comments in its entirety for the record, but I will also summarize them for your hearing. Before the Commission are two separate complaint proceedings involving HYCO Energy LLC. The first complaint was made by the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement. The second was made by the Commonwealth's Office of Attorney and the Office of Consumer Advocate. I&E in its complaint alleged that HYCO billed customers a rate in excess of the introductory rate that was guaranteed at the time of enrollment. I&E calculated that HYCO issued 14,689 invoices that did not conform to the company's promise of guaranteed savings. The ALJs that presided in this matter recommended a $1.8 million civil penalty to be levied against HYCO for its failure to comply with the PUC's regulations. The Office of Attorney General and OCA in their complaint averred numerous counts against HEICO. These included misleading and deceptive promises of savings, lack of good faith handling of complaints, failing to provide accurate pricing information, and failure to comply with the Telemarketers Registration Act. The Office of Attorney General, OCA, and HEICO reached a full settlement, which the ALJs recommended for approval. The pertinent provisions of the settlement include the following: the payment of $2.2 million in refunds, the payment of $25,000 in EDC hardship funds, and modifications to business practices, including a moratorium on variable rate products until July 1st, 2016. Today, I will be voting to deny the exceptions filed in the I&E complaint and to approve the settlement proposal in the Office of Attorney General and the OCA complaint. I fully believe that this outcome is in the public interest. In whole, the $1.8 million civil penalty and the $2 million in refunds and the $25,000 in hardship fund contributions and the significant injunctive measures levied on HEICO are warranted based on the degree of severity and the noncompliance with Commission regulations. This Commission has and will continue to work diligently to foster a robust retail energy market in Pennsylvania. This mission requires us not only to properly design the market, but also effectively monitor and enforce the market. It is unfortunate that the PUC has to come to this juncture with these two complaints. However, these proceedings serve as an example of the Commission's responsibility to be a retail energy market watchdog. This outcome today serves as a reminder to the retail supply industry that the Commission will not hesitate to take action against bad actors. Most importantly, I hope these proceedings provide some consolation to all utility customers that the Commission will always work tirelessly for their protection. Are there any other statements? Commissioner Powelson.
Well, first, let me say I'd like to associate myself with your statement and take this opportunity to remind our suppliers in the market, and this particular supplier, if I took you to other jurisdictions, seems to be a habitual offender of the rules and regulations set forth in competitive retail electricity and gas markets. This morning's settlement agreement should serve as a stark reminder of companies that, without this settlement agreement, I could today vote to revoke the license of this supplier. That's not on the table here today. Again, I applaud the chairman's statement. I also want to take this opportunity to applaud our consumer advocate who's with us, Tanya McCloskey, for the work that she did. For those of you familiar with the episodes associated with the polar vortex, I'm very proud of the work that this commission has done, proud of the work that our Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement has done, as the chairman just alluded to, in the protection of our consumers here in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powelson. Any other statements? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
And finally, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation in the proceeding involving the general rate increase proceeding of Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania, Inc., noting the statement of Commissioner Whitmer.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
I heard Vice Chairman Coleman first, and I heard Commissioner Whitmer second. Resounding second. So motion by Vice Chairman Coleman, second by Commissioner Whitmer. Under discussion, I will call on Commissioner Whitmer for her statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, the Commission took up the joint petition for partial settlement entered into by Columbia Gas and a number of other parties. Part of the settlement I would like to highlight includes 3 new proposals designed to expand the availability of natural gas service in Columbia's service territory and complement its pilot rider new area service. As articulated in the company's statement of support, these proposals were partly made in response to my statement back in October of last year, encouraging Columbia to do more to expand the availability of natural gas service when there are opportunities that are presented. The proposals in today's settlement include: one, a footage allowance of 150 feet of main line per applicant without the need for a net present value analysis; two, an allowance of 150 feet of service line in normal situations for customers served in those portions of Columbia's service territory where the company owns the service line. And then the third piece of this proposal is a reimbursement of up to $1,000 for the installation of house piping on projects when projected revenues exceed projected costs by a certain threshold. In addition, and in response to a suggestion by the OCA that data be collected so that these programs can be evaluated going forward, the settlement incorporates a number of reporting requirements related to these service expansion proposals that I think will provide some very good and valuable data. Because the pilot rider NAS only spreads the costs of a customer's deposit over time and does not reduce total cost of the deposit, I applaud the addition of these complementary proposals. When effectuated, they should enable more individuals to receive natural gas service, as they serve as a positive step in removing barriers for customers that desire to convert to natural gas. I believe it's critically important to promote innovative programs to encourage the extension of natural gas into underserved and unserved areas of the Commonwealth. To that end, I appreciate Columbia's responsiveness in creating more expansive opportunities for conversion, and I look forward to the implementation of the new program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitmer. Any further statements? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, that does conclude the presentation of agenda items.
Thank you. If nothing further to come before us, the meeting is adjourned.